We have here on Life with Friends, the CEO and president of Pet Partners, Annie Peters joins us now. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. I'm delighted to be with you today.
Thank you. Now, before we get started, we have a lot to dig into, but how's Gidget?
Gidget's great. She's actually exhausted. She spent some time this weekend at the dog trainers with her best friends. And when I go to pick her up, she's like, "Oh, Mom, really? I have to go home. You're so boring." But when she comes home, she needs to sleep for a day to recover because she's had so much fun. If I have a minute, a quick story about how I got Gidget. I was visiting back east. I live in Seattle, back east. And I didn't know that one of our longtime volunteer evaluators ran a shelter. And I was ready for another dog. And it was a wine and cheese fundraising party, And I just mentioned something. I said, "Yeah, I'm ready for my next dog. And I'd like one about 30 pounds, but active enough to hike." And she pulled up her phone. She said, "I've got just the dog." And she said, "Her name's Gidget." And I took one look in her eyes and I said, "I'll take her." So she's from Arkansas to New York to Seattle. And while she doesn't like the rain, she loves to hike in the rainforest out here.
Oh, I love
we
that.
We spend a lot of time outdoors.
Do you notice, because I surely do, that when you're meeting people or talking to people, their defenses come right down when you're talking about their dog? Even if you just met them and they show you a photo of a dog or it just breaks the ice. All of a sudden the barriers come right down. Have you noticed that?
That is absolutely true. And I can tell you, in the world that I work in, the people I work with, I can work with somebody for a long time before knowing whether or not they have human children, but they tell me pretty quickly if they have what they refer to as fur children, right? What you're talking about, defenses coming down, we see that in the workplace with companies that are opening their doors and being pet friendly. We have a program where we bring therapy animals into companies, and it's building bonds and community throughout the company as well, throughout the workplace. And that's also at the core of a lot of animal-assisted therapy, right? Where a therapist or counselor or psychologist is introducing an animal into the therapeutic environment. And it creates an opportunity for that person to maybe let down their defenses and to share a little bit more about why they're struggling or why they need help. There's research out now that a child who is struggling to learn to read will gain greater proficiency and fluency in reading by reading to a therapy animal or their own pet at home than they would through traditional reading intervention specialist methods.
Really? Why is that?
The animal's not judging, right? They're more likely to sound out the word. They're more likely to read for a longer duration. And all of those things just lead to greater gains in proficiency.
So tell us a little bit about Pet Partners and your role as president and CEO and where you're hoping to take the organization.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. So Pet Partners is the leading organization registering people to share their pets as a registered therapy animal team. So I do want to clear one thing up because so many people are confused. And if you're confused, the rest of this conversation won't make sense, all right?
Right.
So let's take a moment and talk about the difference between a therapy animal and a service animal. So a service animal is a one-to-one relationship. That animal is helping someone in need that animal performs a task. So we think about guide dogs for the blind, hearing assistance dogs, veterans with PTSD that have a service animal. A therapy animal, which is the world in which Pet Partners operates, that animal has a one-to-many relationship. Someone is sharing their pet to help lots of other people. So I have the privilege of working with over 10,000 human volunteers and over 13,000 teams, because many of our volunteers register with more than one animal, in the US and in 13 other countries, where people volunteer their time and share their pet with somebody in need.
I know that it's benefited, tens of thousands of people across the US, of course, and I know that you're expanding globally, but do you have maybe a cool story that you could share?
I have a couple. It's hard to pick one, but okay. So, and in the interest of HIPAA, I'll be a little bit generic in my description, but we have a wonderful, wonderful team with just a beautiful dog. I tease the handler that's got to be the most photogenic dog on the planet. And the dog was rescued, tied up, beaten, emaciated, scared. I mean, the pictures are just horrific. And this couple nursed this dog back to life, and just beautiful. I'm like, do you carry a fan? Because everywhere I see pictures of the dog, just beautiful dog, happy, beautiful. They were visiting in a shelter for a domestic violence shelter. And there was they worked very closely with the staff there, including the social workers and the psychologists. And there was a young child there who just wouldn't open up and speak to the counselors about what he had been through. And with the permission of the counselor, they shared this animal story about how the animal had been so abused, and now he's a therapy animal and beloved by everyone at the shelter. And the child reached down, stroked the animal's fur, called the animal by name, and said, "It's okay. I've been hurt too."
Oh.
And after that, the child started opening up and working with the staff at the shelter so he could start to heal.
This is why you do what you do, right?
I do want to stop and mention, because we talk about dogs so much, and 94% of our teams are dogs. But we actually register 9 different species, or 9 different types of animals. So it's dogs, mini horses, then cats. When I started with Pet Partners about 6 years ago, one of our volunteer evaluators said, kind of tongue-in-cheek, she said, "Yeah, when somebody tells me they have a cat that would make a good therapy animal, I tell them to check and make sure it's not really a dog." There are some affiliative cats, right? They're fewer and farther between,
right?
But not everybody's a dog person, right? So the cats are also very popular at the assisted living facilities, where someone may have had cats their entire life, and now they're no longer living independently, and a visit from a cat every week just makes their week. So let's see. So it's dogs, mini horses, cats, llamas, birds, pigs, guinea pigs, rabbits, and rats. We have
rats? I never would have guessed rats. Really?
We have a few rats. We have one handler who's registered with a number of rats, and she visits. Let's say, I don't know if that's the correct term anymore, but troubled youth boys, like in a residential setting. And they are very, very responsive.
I like that you're catering depending on what someone might like or not like. So how does one qualify? I know that you're always looking for volunteers, but how does one qualify to be a volunteer?
Well, it really first starts with having a pet at home that you realize is very affiliative, that wants to interact with other people, that isn't shy around other people, that you're not forcing them or dragging them right into the situation. So we always say, if you've got a pet at home that's kind of like, "Hey, where's the party?" They might be a candidate to be a therapy animal. Then we educate you, the handler, and we educate you about how to be a handler. You mentioned about being mindful of the pet. We have a principle called Yayaba. You are your animal's best advocate. We talk about mitigating disease risk transmission, very important now, and good handling skills, right? So once you have all that knowledge on board, then you go through an evaluation with one of our volunteer evaluators. It's about a 45-minute role play scenario where we're looking to see, do you work together as a team?
There's a lot of time and energy that you're putting into these volunteers. That's so great to know. So what do you need as an organization to sustain itself? What are you looking for? What are your goals and your mission moving forward?
Thank you. So I'll tell you, the biggest thing we're concerned about right now is the lack of new teams coming into the program because of COVID-19. But in order to become a team, you have to have this in-person evaluation. And there's some places, and with social distancing and mask and hand sanitizing, there's some places where there are evaluations available, but it's a fraction of in fact, I looked the other day, over the last 3 months, our registration of new teams was down by 80%.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah, we're just really concerned because, it's not just about sharing your pet. Our volunteers are meeting a need in their community, right? And we're really concerned about not having enough new teams to meet the need. So if anyone who's listening to us today and enjoying this chat, I hope they will go to petpartners.org and start to look at the process to become a therapy animal team if they have a pet in their household that would love doing this work.
You already, as the Pet Partners organization, have Walk With Me, but this is going to be your third year where you're actually hosting world's largest pet walk. So why did you want to support this cause, and what are you hoping to accomplish with this?
So the world's largest pet walk is really an extension of our therapy animal programming Walk With Me that you mentioned. We coined it the world's largest pet walk because it is a walk on your own with your pet, with your neighbors, with our therapy animal team groups. So last year we had people walking in Australia and Argentina and Arkansas.
So how does one participate?
So the date is officially Saturday, September 26th, but if that doesn't work for you, pick another date. And then if you want to, you can fundraise. And for $50, your pet will earn a bandana that says Official Walker 2020. And for $100 or more, you'll get a t-shirt that matches your pet's bandana. So you can be a matching out there on your walk with your t-shirt and their bandana.
Well, I will be out on that walk on the 26th with my little one, Ebby. Thank you, Annie Peters. Thank you so much for being on the show. We have more on Life with Friends, so don't go anywhere.